welcome to Connect the Dots Learning Center podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Wagers, and I'm thrilled to have you join us. This is a show where we dive into all things pediatric therapy, bringing you the latest insights, tips, and stories to help you thrive in your practice. Whether you're a seasoned therapist, a clinic owner, or just starting your journey in pediatric therapy, this podcast is for you. Our mission is to provide valuable, practical information that you can apply in your daily work. Today on our show, I'm talking with Nicole and Stephanie, a dynamic OT and PT duo who founded the Note Ninjas. They are experts in helping physical and occupational therapists streamline their documentation process, enhance patient care, and prevent burnout. If you've ever struggled with documentation or looking for fresh treatment ideas, you won't want to miss this episode. Welcome, Stephanie. Stephanie's a PT and Nicole is an OT from the Note Ninjas. I'm super happy to have you guys here today. Can you guys just tell me a little bit, just kind of what led you to get started in this? I know you probably said this over and over and over, but just for the listeners, can you just give a tiny background of kind of who you are, what led you to this position that you're in now?
Absolutely. So maybe Steph will start with her little entrepreneur journey.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about us.
All right, well, I always wanted to do something online, start my own business, and I kind of dabbled in different things here and there. And then me and Nicole started working together, and I kept giving her ideas, and can we do this? And she kept kind of shooing me away and being like, "Oh, that's not good," or ignoring me. And then one day I came in with an idea that we should just, all our students and our mentors never knew how to document, and they had trouble even with the treatment planning. So I'm like, why don't we just start educating people on this? And she finally thought it was a good idea.
What about that grabbed you, Nicole?
Yeah. So I always followed like Stephanie's entrepreneur journey. She was always trying to do something on her side. Before we did the Note Ninja, she was doing a women's health coaching program.
Okay.
And I thought that was so interesting. And I was like, oh, and then she did Beachbody too. So like, I was like, oh, she's making money in other ways other than being just a PT treating patients. And, as we all know, student loans are very, schools are very expensive. Student loans creep up on you. So I had a lot of student loan debt. I had moved out of my parents' house. I was living on my own, and I just realized that life was really expensive, and like OT just wasn't going to cut it for me if I wanted the life that I wanted. So, I was just really interested to see that you can make money in other ways than working, say, more hours in a clinic or picking up another full-time job like in person. So I really loved that that online work really drew me in.
Okay. So you agreed, you said, okay, we can try this. And then from my recollection, you guys kind of started Instagram, started posting like treatment ideas, started getting a following for about a year. Is that right?
Yeah. So
okay.
Pretty much we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't have like a product we were selling. We were just kind of like, let's just post some tips and kind of see where that brings us. So we quickly grew a following on Instagram because there was nothing else like that out there. Like we started in 2018. So it was like just around the time where like people were starting to teach through social media and, give examples and whatnot. So we wanted to, we were just like, let's just give some value. And then, because we were growing so fast, we started getting a lot of feedback from people, mostly positive too, which was, it's kind of rare with social media. Like some,
right. I know.
Positive feedback.
Not the trolls out there.
Yeah. So we really didn't have many trolls. Like people really, really loved us. And we're like, wow, like maybe this could be something. So we just continued doing what we were doing. And then I guess a year into posting, we were like, all right, what would people want? And I think we asked our audience, like, what do they want from us? Like, what would they pay for? And we just started out with a simple balance treatment guide where it was on a Google Doc. So it was balance intervention ideas with documentation and goal writing and just, things like that. But it was just like an all-in-one resource that people could just bring up on their computer and then implement into their practice.
Awesome. So that's what I was wondering. Like, did you have this vision of how it was going to go? And it sounds like it just kind of evolved for you. Yeah. So then
Yeah,
you
I
have to
would
learn
say
like a
Always
platform,
have
right?
everything that we do, actually. We just kind of go with it and then wait till everybody keeps asking. And like, all right, we have to put this out there. So many people want it. Let's just do it.
Uh-huh.
And it's really been.
Yeah. And how's the learning curve been with that for you
I
guys?
would say, I mean, for me personally, like I had no experience with like business online. I know, so Stephanie, because of her previous entrepreneur endeavors with online marketing, and she had done a lot of research on her own of emails and things like that. Like I didn't know any of that. So it's been a huge learning curve for me. I didn't even know that we needed an email list. I didn't know that we needed a lead magnet, all those business things. I did not know. So I've learned a lot through Stephanie and then through doing Note Ninjas. And now I just fully understand the importance of all those things.
Right. And so you're doing this and you're working full time. Are you both working full time? Wow. Okay. So this was definitely like a passion for you guys to kind of push through, right?
Yeah, and not only like a passion of us doing it, but like it sparked our passion in therapy again too,
Mhm.
because we were starting to feel burnt out. Like we were in the same setting for a while, Stephanie even longer, and we were kind of just like, all right, is this, like you get through the routine of doing the same things over and over again. But what No Ninjas kind of forced us to do is just think out of the box and be more
Yeah.
creative with our treatments and our interventions. We were learning from our students as well. Like they always come in with new ideas. So really, it really sparked our passion back in therapy and
Right.
PTOT.
I love that because as a Pete's provider, I know like when I'm bored, like I feel burnt out. And sometimes just grabbing a new intervention, a new toy, just I'm like, oh, I can do this forever. Yeah. So you mentioned that your program, I don't know what we should call it, subscription can kind of help with that work-life balance and decreasing burnout. Can you kind of go into that a little bit more?
So we are a membership. I feel like a lot of therapists were always just, everybody always wants to be better. We wanted to, we want to give our patients the best care we can. So I feel like we're going home at the end of the day and on the weekends or researching new information. We're always kind of thinking that we don't know enough, looking
Right.
at Google, Pinterest, all of that. And then we also found that people are spending so much time. They might have liked that part a little bit, but then they do the documentation after work. So many people were staying hours and hours after. Like I
Right.
remember I was doing notes one day till like 11 o'clock at night. And even like waking up early, like it was ridiculous. And we found a
Wow.
lot of doing that too. So that's why we thought if we did all the work for them, then instead of going home and doing all of that stuff, that they could just treat their patients. Now they
Right.
can look up it's okay, but like we have a lot of the evidence, we have a lot of treatment ideas, and we have exactly how to document it. So instead of taking that time away from like their families, now they could have their family time and then have their patient time and then actually enjoy working with their patients and getting them better. So
Mhm. Okay. Why do you think that? And I would say it's almost every provider. I don't know that I've met a provider that loves to document. If right, if they do, they're like writing too fluffy, and you're like, dude, get to the point. Like this is too much. Why do you think we struggle with that so much?
I think we just feel like we constantly need to prove ourselves, like like
Mm,
especially, well, we were working for individuals who are covered by Medicare, and the Medicare coverage, their insurance requirements and their documentation requirements are pretty extensive. Like you need
yeah.
to be able to show your skill. And I think a lot of people just feel like the more they write, the more they're showing what they did. But like it really, writing more actually distracts from the skill that
Yeah.
they're providing, it's not really necessary. So we always try to, and everything that we do, we try to leave out the fluff. So even our, if we're telling other therapists to leave out the fluff in their documentation, then it's important for us to leave out the fluff in our resources. So
Mhm.
that comes to our blog posts are very, short and sweet. And then same, and then our membership too. It's very to the point. It's exactly what you
Love it.
need. You have the examples, it's right there. That way you're not like spending hours and hours and hours reading through and learning something. It's just, you see it and you can apply it.
Right. Because we know the background and it's like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. So
Mhm.
how do you guys, how did you get your skill set in documentation and feel like it is on point and could stand up against insurance, like an audit? Have you had that happen where somebody came back to you and said, this didn't, I was audited or anything like that?
We did have all that commented that have written us back and say they passed the audits or their checks at work. We used the audit at work, and we always had really good notes too. Like mine were always great. I mean, you always get worried that you don't know enough. So we're always researching stuff, joining this, joining that, seeing what Medicare decided to do this month. But I guess we just stay on top of it. But I was always focused. I am not a fluff person whatsoever. Nicole probably was a little bit more when we first started. But I just always, I'm a right to the point kind of person. And I'm very like literal with kind of stuff. So I just do it.
Yeah, I think it was just like the practice and experience over time. And then I started taking students pretty early on in my career, like after maybe like 2 years of practice. And that kind of taught me a lot too. It kind of gave me more time to focus on that documentation too and really, really master it. So, and then also like just taking, you know, some of my, like the courses that we would be taking, I would fully focus on the documentation part versus like some other areas. So it's just really over time that we got really good at it, and we realized like what you needed in your documentation versus what you didn't. And yeah.
Awesome. And I think that providers are just craving that, like, just give me the treatment idea. Like, I don't need the theory. I don't need the fluff, the background. Like, I hate that when I go to a course and they keep telling you, we're going to get to it. We're going to get to it. And then you're like, we got 15 minutes left and you haven't even touched on it. Like, I can't stand that. So
yeah,
you guys just,
our one course too. And we always say that, like, I was an example of like a stroke course. Like you go there and learn all about the brain. Like I didn't come for that. I can Google it. I can learn it from somewhere else. Like, what do I do with these patients? So everybody else always goes into that. So we did not want to. So that was
and that's why people love you guys, right? They're just eating it up. And I think our brain stops being creative when we're working day in, day out, because we are thinking like, okay, how am I going to document this? And then thinking, oh, wait, that was kind of a fun activity, but how do I document this to not look fun and look skilled, right? How do you guys keep, so are you working full-time now with adults? No. Okay.
No, we are full-time with Note Ninjas.
Okay. Because I was going to say, how in the world do you work full-time and come up with creative interventions all the time?
Yeah, it was a struggle for a while. And then it was actually a year ago in June that I left my job. We slowly dwindled. So we were full time. And then I would say about like 2 years ago, well, I had a baby. So I was on maternity leave, and then I came back for just per diem. But then I was doing Note Ninjas, so it was a full-time thing. And then Stephanie, I don't know how she was doing it because she was still working like full-time plus overtime. Yeah. And doing Note Ninjas. And then it kind of got to the point where we're like, wow, we can't juggle both. So we're just going to go all in with the Note Ninjas. And yeah, it's been about a year now that both of us have been full-time with the Note Ninjas.
Okay. And so like these interventions you guys are coming up with, is it you solely, or are you getting input from other providers, or like, are you in the line at the store and watch something and like, oh, that's a great idea, and like document it, or how are you doing this?
I mean, essentially, we do get like ideas that pop in our head, but we have a clinical specialist, a PT that we work with. That he's still working with clients, so like we kind of go through him to stay up to date, because I mean that's the thing, is like we want to be up to date. That's a whole part of being therapy. Being a therapist and everything. So we consult with him, and we have some other we have a lot of people in the therapy world that we kind of consult with, collaborate with. But yeah, we're still, we do a lot of just like research on the side and everything. So we're always constantly coming up with things and, taking different strategies and applying it to different treatment ideas and whatnot.
Yeah. And I love how just simple, like, I think you guys had a post where you're laying on the bed and bed mobility and bridging your hips and lifting them into the hula and then out of the hula. Like, it's just showing people that you don't need a lot to do therapy. It's just the simple things. So I don't think everybody's brain is that creative. So it's wonderful that you guys are. I love that. Tell me a little bit more about your membership program. I know that you have like a gold level now. So if somebody came in, what are the options that they could come into, I guess?
Now we just have the one level of our membership now. So people can just come in either monthly or yearly for a discount. And we include just everything in the one level because we feel like the therapists just need everything we were going to give. So it's basically a whole resource library. It's not meant to be like a course or membership. It's labeled specifically so it's easy to go to and even basically use as you're treating. So we have a section like stroke or Therex or just straight up documentation. It's ADLs, all kinds of stuff. But you can go right to the thing and then find the exercises with maybe a 10-15 minute video showing the exercises, modifications, and then documentation like bulleted. So it's very fluff. And then we reach out to them. We're doing some like mini learnings. We bring experts in because I feel like I was a little bit more generalized, maybe balance, older adults. So we bring in some more people are more focused. Like we have a dementia specialist, even like a documentation reviewer. So we try to collaborate with other people to really give their specialty, to really hone in different skills.
Awesome. Okay. Anything for speech?
No, not currently. We get that question all the time. We actually just had someone reach out to us today. That's our future endeavor that we would love to add on speech. We just haven't found the right fit yet, I think. So no, but we say it all the time. Like we would love to add speech because we have so many therapists that reach out to us.
Right. Do you guys have, like, let's say they chose a treatment modality. Do you have a correlating home program to that they could then give to the family? Is that something that you have?
We have some handouts, but we found that there's other resources out there. Like they have like free like home exercise programs that you can find. I think it's like HGP to go. So we don't necessarily have that. It's more like this is more for the therapist, like the clinician.
Okay. And then how about, do you recommend CPT codes to go with the treatment modalities? Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Billing. So we always have a section on billing and how to bill for certain activities and all that kind of stuff.
How do you manage all the different insurance? Like, some insurances will pay for this, some won't pay for that. Do you just kind of put it as like a blanket statement to check insurance?
Yeah, this is on like Medicare, because most do go through Medicare. So we let people through the Medicare rules. Most do follow it, but to make sure you always check with the insurance company and like your state practice act, because things do change. So we try to be everybody has to show your skill. So mostly it's all the same, but if it goes for billing, we do like the 8-minute rule through Medicare. Like that's how we're showing that.
Okay. Were you going to say something, Nicole?
No, that's pretty much what I was thinking.
Okay. Let's see. Do you, with your membership, do you have like a company subscription where, like a clinic could come in and subscribe for their providers?
Yeah. So this is something new that we're exploring with, where we would love to have more companies or private practice owners, we would love to, give a group discount and, do some training specifically for the practice. So it's something that we're still exploring but it's definitely an option, and we would love to book a call with people if
I'm interested. I'll book a call with you. I just know as a owner, I'm constantly harping on documentation. I don't think sometimes that providers remember that it's their license on the line, or it's their license, but it's really my booty on the line because it comes out of, they'll take back money if it doesn't prove medical necessity. And I think that people get lazy in their documentation. But if there was this, hey, I'm giving it to you on a platter, this is how you need to document, you're just clicking and moving it over, there's no excuse. And you're going to actually make clinics more money that way.
Yeah, and that's actually you just nailed our goal for this next year is kind of what we want to focus on because of like everything that you said. Like, yes, it's your license on the line. We always stress that for the individual therapist. Like it's always up to you. However, from your standpoint, since you are a clinic owner, you're also could be losing money. So documentation is just so important. And then it's not only the documentation too that we provide, it is the treatment ideas and giving you more skill as well. So it really is a win-win for both parties.
Just a thought. Go ahead, Steph.
It helps the employers too, because I feel like telling like potential employees, keeping people happy, keeping people having that work-life balance, are going to want to come to work. if they're happy, they're going to treat their patients better, and everybody's going to have a better like work atmosphere.
Yes.
So we really
Yes.
want to.
Love it. Love it. Have you ever thought about like offering your information to like an EMR, like a plug and play?
Yeah, we've explored like some different options.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's challenging because it's like we don't want to put all of our eggs in one basket with like one EMR system. We've
Right.
we are partners with an EMR system but we don't. It's more just like we're kind of ambassadors for them. We don't
I gotcha.
really our documentation associated with them.
Mhm.
But yeah, that is something that we are also exploring. So along with the clinic side,
Yeah. I mean, my brain's just going, just trying to think of like ways to make it easier. Here's the goal, right? Pull in the goal, and then boom, here's all the treatment modalities, and here's how you document it. Like it could be
right. Because we
amazing.
have these comprehensive templates that we have with so we have like a 10-hour self-paced CU program.
Uh-huh.
And within that program, we also have these templates that are very comprehensive. It's like pages and pages, but they're all like easy to navigate. But that's something that like we would just love to work with an EMR system and help plug into their EMR system, because it's all there. It's all the drop downs you need. It's all the skill that you need to be showing, and can really, really help with reimbursement.
Right, right. Well, maybe we can talk after the call on
Yep.
for peds specifically, but how do you make sure, this is probably more related to the pediatric kind of population, because really the parent is our client, right? The parent has to understand what's going on. And when we write an eval, it's tough because you've got to write it for the insurance company, but then you need to write it in language that the parent understands too. So how do you make sure that your documentation meets both criteria?
I think just once again, leaving out the fluff, getting straight to the point. You don't need to use all this fancy jargon. Yes, there's skilled phrases that you could be using. But as long as, you should be any type of documentation, you should be writing so that anyone who is reading it can understand it. So
Right.
you need to use certain terms. You want to sound professional. You want it like if there is, a specific, I'm trying to think like something, specific, or a specific muscle or something that you're working on. You want to make sure that you put that in, but you really shouldn't overcomplicate your notes as it is. You really should be making it easy for the reader.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I tell that to my staff, like you need to make sure that a high school level could understand this, because usually that's who's auditing the notes, right? And so if we use big words, they have no idea. We've got to be able to show that we're making progress. We don't need to let them decipher it, because they'll say, no, they're not every time, right?
Yeah, it's not necessary.
No, it's not. Let me see what else I had here. I think I've got a lot of it. But so what is one of the most unexpected lessons that you guys have learned throughout this process?
That's a good question.
The lesson.
I would
I
say
can edit the silence. You're good.
yeah. No, I would say just because we are an online business, things are like changing daily, with the technology. So, I would say like just unexpected is you kind of have to, like there's a lot of things that I'm like, oh, that's not necessary. We don't need to do this yet. And then it becomes really popular. And then, yes, you should be doing this, like automations, for example. Just like little things like that, it can make a world of a difference. And just kind of leaning into these new technologies like ChatGPT, for instance, like it can really help you become more efficient. And, you still need to be you still are authentic, even though there is this other technology, but it can help you just make everything better, optimize it, make things quicker. So kind of just like leaning into that, all the newness out there.
Yeah, it can feel like a lot. How about for you, Stephanie?
I'd say learning how to like pivot too. Sometimes you think everything's going well and everything's set up and ready to go, and then something always happens. I feel like something always comes up, and you just feel like relax and not stress out and just do it best that you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. Nicole is a perfectionist, really, but sometimes it's just good to get that information out there. People need it, and it doesn't have to be all great. You could always say more come, or this happened, but here's all of this information. Just pivoting and just letting it go sometimes.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is hard when you are a perfectionist to kind of move on, but tell me what happened for, let's see, you started in 2018, right? So what happened for you during COVID, speaking of pivoting, right? So were you full-time with the Note Ninjas or no?
No. So
Okay.
Note Ninjas was still very, very new at that point. However, we were just starting to really I would say kick off. And then, yeah, right before COVID, our company actually shut us down. So we're not going to get into too many details with that, but yeah, the company that we were working for as clinicians, felt there was kind of a conflict of interest, I guess you could say. I mean, there really wasn't, but maybe they were intimidated by us. I don't know. But yeah, we had to do a big pivot because we were really getting passionate about the Note Ninjas. We finally saw kind of the light at the end of the tunnel, like seeing this as, the long-term future for us, being like, wow, we can really go big with this. And then it was kind of just like taken away from us for a little period of time.
Yeah.
And then because of COVID coming, it kind of just gave us that extra time to really kind of sit back, look back at things, and reevaluate the importance of our futures, like our careers. And we were still working full time, but we decided, you know what, the Note Ninjas are our priority, and that's kind of what we wanted to do. And yeah, I would say we kind of we changed some things. We were still off Instagram. But we still had this email list that was ours. We owned that email list, and that's kind of how we connected with people and continued to yeah, just send our message out there.
Okay. So did you have to pivot your brain into okay, now I've got to make this work online? And I don't know about you, but we had to shut down our practice too. We went fully online. It was okay, let's just completely recreate a business in 2 weeks, something I never really wanted to do, but I don't even know how to treat online. So you're figuring it out, right? And then you're having to be the expert and giving the education. Was that tricky?
Most of our people, health and stuff, though, a lot of our followers, a lot of our members, it was more, we had a lot of hospital, home health, other places, or a lot of them were still working in the clinic or in the setting. So we were starting to give more ideas for how to keep things clean and what to do in somebody's room or their apartment and stuff like that.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Okay. Kind of a random question, but if you could be in a different career for a day or a different job, what would that be? I dream of this sometimes when I'm struggling in my profession.
I actually always say a graphic designer.
Oh.
I remember wanting to go into graphic design, and I told my mom, and she shut that down. Because at the time when I was in high school, internet, I mean, yes, internet was a thing, of course. Technology was a thing. It was big, and I'm not that old, but being a graphic designer wasn't as, I was okay, you're a graphic designer. But now I'm you could do really well in that field. And that's kind of what we're doing now. We do a lot of graphic design within the Note Ninjas. Mm-hmm. So
we kind of got it, right?
Exactly. So I kind of got to fulfill my dream.
How about you, Stephanie?
I always thought it would be fun. I told Nicole the other day, I would love to teach fitness classes, but I think it looks more fun to me than it is. I think I just really like to do the fitness classes and I like the excitement and the adrenaline of it. But again, now I am basically teaching other therapists exercises. I like the theory behind it, that's why I even went into PT, really, the theory behind all the exercises and how they work. So now I'm just helping even more people. So it is pretty cool.
That's cool. Who were you guys' kind of biggest motivators, or just kind of had your back all the time? Obviously each other, right? Which is great because you're creating this company with each other, but who else kind of kept you going along?
Yeah, I mean, definitely each other. We're a dynamic duo. partnership. But I would say, I mean, my husband has like always been like one of our biggest cheerleaders. Like
Yeah.
he's out like, there's been some times where we've had like some hard days or, with the whole when we were shut down with no ninjas, like he was kind of right there picking me back up and like really motivating us to like keep going. And, he knew we had something good. So, yeah, him and I would say my parents too. Like my parents were always like so interested in like what we were doing and um they love that we were doing something outside of we were still using our degrees, but at the same time like we're using it in a different unique way.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad's an entrepreneur, he started his own business. So he thinks it's cool that we did it too.
Yeah. Along the way, did you have people that tried to blow out your candle besides your company, which is pretty big, but you did.
Yeah, yeah.
Like her parents are helping. My grown is the worst thing you could ever do. She won't listen to this, but yeah, she thinks you need to work for it. She's one of those people, she's older. She's always had just a job. You have to have your job 9 to 5, and that's all you have to do and be steady with it. So she thinks it's the most ridiculous thing ever. I don't even know if she knows much about it, but because it's just, you don't need that negativity, So I focused on my partner too. He pushed me. Like I was stressed about leaving my job. And because it came to the point, like you're kind of making enough, but like, it's still like, you need to go better or not. And he really pushed me and said, what's the worst that could happen? You could go back to PT. Like you could always get a job in PT, or you can actually do your passion and just go with it and see what it can do. That was helpful. And Nicole and her family are helpful too.
That's awesome. Do you face imposter syndrome? I'm sure you may have in the beginning, but do you ever be like, oh my God, what are we doing?
Yeah, I think definitely
Yes.
in the beginning, 'cause even with like getting started, you asked Stephanie, I was like, oh, I need like 5 more experience under my belt and then we can do this. Or I need this certification and then we could do this. Where she was never like that, where like I was always like, oh my God, I need this. I need this to get to this. And then, I've learned over time that it's not really, you just really need to like trust yourself. And, you know, I, we have a lot of validation from our followers that we're helping them and from my students. So I'm someone who maybe needs that external validation in order to keep pursuing something. But I finally have reached a place where I'm like, you know what, we're doing something really great. And yes, we can get maybe some negative feedback, but like you're always going to get more negative sometimes than you get positive, unfortunately. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't people like rooting for you and find your resources helpful and valuable.
Right. People don't just like go, oh, I'm going to make a positive comment. It's only people that have something negative to say or nothing better to do. Right. Yeah. And when you look, they're the chronic reviewers, right? Like my Taco Bell was late.
Yes.
Get a life. But yeah.
I would just think about like what they're dealing with sometimes too. Like they'll comment something on like, Facebook or whatever. It's usually where they come out. And it's just like how is their life if they are taking this time to comment on my thing? There's so many more people we're helping. And that's what we like to reach out to our audience too. And we'll do like calls with them or emails, because it is very helpful when somebody gives you a great recommendation that just pushes us to do better, say how helpful it is. Like that definitely has kept us going. It's really nice.
Awesome.
Yeah. I prefer, like, we've had some people that have been following us since 2018, like since the beginning. And like, those are our people. Like they know us, they followed us our entire journey. And then we started doing ads this past year. And so we're getting a lot new people, which is great. And like most of them are amazing. However, there are some people that just don't know us and, they feel the need to comment some negative things like through, on some ads, which, it's just part of the job. It's what you get for posting, putting yourself out there. But I've learned to just kind of, yeah, like, you almost feel bad for them because I'm like, well, whatever they're dealing with, then maybe it's,
Yeah.
they have to deal with that themselves.
Yeah. You kind of got to grow that shell a little bit on your exterior, but it still gets you
Oh yeah.
at some level. Yeah. But at least you kind of have each other to bounce it off of. Yeah. Really quick, one more question about your program. As far as pediatrics, you have a OT that is working with you. Do you have a PT, a pediatric PT?
So we have 2 pediatric OTs. We would love to have PT as well. But yeah, so we have a separate membership, the pediatric series, which is all pediatrics. And so that's separate from our membership, but you could find it online too, on the same website. And yeah, that's geared all towards pediatrics. So, PTs could use it because, the terminology, would pretty much be the same, but it's more, right now it's more geared towards OTs, but we would like to add on SLP. We would love to add on PT as well for our peds.
Okay, awesome. And kind of what's next? You talked about the membership. That's kind of or not the membership, but the clinic subscription, right? Is there anything else in the works you guys have that you want to talk about?
We always have things up our sleeves.
Right.
Stephanie's talked about kind of making our course into more of a certification. So we're in a lot of different Facebook groups out there, and like a lot of therapists are wanting to get out of the therapy world, which we don't want that, but we understand that if reimbursement and people need to make a living, so but the grass isn't always green on the other side, just saying. But we find like a lot of therapists are interested in becoming like utilization reviewers or documentation reviewers. So we thought it would be a good idea to maybe come out with a certification for them to be able to do that. And that way they can kind of take our resources and go in that direction. So that's an option for us. We haven't fully come up with it yet, but it's maybe in the works for,
I was saying too, even maybe just for promotion or like for a higher status at your company. Like if you're like you were saying, like a clinic owner really needs the documentation. So if we can certify somebody in big clinics to be able to do this, maybe even to help with the treatment planning and then be able to document it, but they have the certification, they can go to their employer and help all the rest of the employees and help the clinic and everything like that too. So
I love that. I love that. Okay. I was thinking like they're going to go work for the insurance company and review documentation.
Yeah, so I mean, it's both sides. They could do that if they don't want to treat anymore, or if they still want to treat and it's more of like they want more of a promotion or more of like an internal involvement, then they can do like what Stephanie said, is kind of like work with their employer and, like present that skill set to them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are you guys readers?
Yeah, we like to read.
Any good nonfiction book that has really kind of fueled your passion or a recommendation?
Yeah, we've definitely gotten to a lot more of those types of books this past year. I'm trying to think on the top of my head. We just finished up 2X is better or easier than 10X.
I'm reading that right now. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
to go after more clinics and maybe an EMR system or something too. Like more people at once that we can help. That's probably the 10X.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would definitely be our way of 10Xing, is kind of going more for the higher ups versus like the individual therapist.
Yeah, I think it would be amazing. It'd be amazing. Yeah. How about a good juicy fiction?
I don't read.
I'm currently reading a good summer read. It's Emily Henry. I think it's A Funny Story or something.
I have that book. I haven't read it yet though.
Pretty juicy. I was listening to it on my way to on my walk this morning, and I was like, oh, okay.
I'm glad I'm listening.
Yeah.
How about you, Stephanie?
I don't really listen to that much fiction. I usually listen to audibles. About like 10X was my last one. Actually, I listened to some. What was I just finished it today. Lucky B Word after it. That was the last I just listened to. She was really good though. She motivated me. And we are big on manifesting too. So we have a manifesting app that we both listen to. And that really helps too. But I'm not a novel person.
What app is it?
It's called Superhuman.
Okay.
It's by Mimi Bouchard is the founder, and she calls it like her activation. So it's all her recorded she doesn't like to call it affirmation, so it's more of like activating. But it's really helpful. There's all different like times too. There's like quick 3-minute ones, and then there's like 25-minute ones. But they're like all to music, and it's just like good to listen to, like while we're cooking, while we're cleaning. Like she has it for like everything, like activators to listen to while you're commuting, while you're packing for a trip. So it's I like it. It's good.
That's awesome. I think it's so important to surround yourself with that good, positive energy, because otherwise, if you don't, it's really easy to go down with the haters and
Yeah. And when we found it, we try to catch each other too. Like, well, as like our partnership is like, for instance, we had a flop of a launch for one of our programs in May, and we started getting kind of down on ourselves, but like we both, kind of had to be like, all right, it's okay. Next time we're just gonna kill it, or we're gonna do this now. And, that goes along with the pivoting, but we always just try to snap out of it. And one way is that activator, the superhuman app really helps us with that.
awesome. Anything else you want the listeners to know that I didn't ask?
Yeah, if anyone's looking for any like treatment ideas or documentation, we have 2 Instagram accounts. So the Note Ninjas is more for geriatrics or just any adult rehab pretty much. And then our pediatric Instagram is at the Note Ninjas _peds. And that's for some more pediatric led treatment ideas and documentation. But pretty much like, we love when people reach out to us and ask us questions and connect with us. And, our messages are open, and we DM people back. We are very responsive through all of our channels. So if anyone has any questions or just wants to say hi to us, we we love that. So feel free.
Awesome. How about you,
I
Stephanie?
want to help people stay motivated and love PTOT. We just see too many people saying they're burnt out or they're looking for something else. We want it for a reason, and we can keep our passion. We just need to maybe find the right resources, the people to hang around with to really keep that passion alive. But it is possible, and it really is a great field. So.
It is an amazing field. It is. Yeah. Hopefully it turns a bit, right?
We
Yeah.
hope so. And that's what
Yeah.
we kind of hope our resources can bring to the field, is like we view it as more of like an advocacy too, that eventually people will be able to, really justify their skilled services, and we can be recognized by insurance companies, and we can get paid as much as a neurosurgeon makes, you never know.
Yeah. If only they could recognize what we do for the patient and keeping them out of the hospital, and that, yeah.
All the money we're saving. Yes.
They see it completely as the opposite though. Yeah. But we'll get there, right?
We'll get
Well,
there.
Yeah.
Be safe.
Well, I really appreciate you guys' time today. It's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having us.